Hello everyone, it's been a while. I know I've been busy with stuffs and other things. That's why I've not been able to make any tutorials for my subscribers over here. But today I have good news for us. I've made some research and I saw that there are some mistakes that beginners do make that I have to make a video tutorial about it. And so that is the purpose of our video today. Today I'm going to talk about the 5 most common mistakes beginners don't make when it comes to pen drawing. And if you are in this category, make sure you sit down, subscribe to this channel, like this video and share to your other beginner friends that will benefit from this video. Make sure you watch to the end to benefit from this kind of video. So without wasting much of our time, let's get straight into today's video. And here is our mistake number 1, and this is very common among beginners when it comes to pen work. And this number 1 mistake, we have to talk about shaky lines. Now if you notice, most beginners, when they are starting their artistic journey from the very beginning stage, they don't have this confidence to make their lines very straight and smooth. Therefore they have this kind of shaky outline, shaky result when they are trying to shade. And most times this happens, when I make my research, this happens when they are in public places or they are seen by other artists that are better than them. They tend to lose their confidence, thereby resulting to making shaky lines. And this is very big mistake when it comes to becoming a master in pen work. You have to learn how to make your lines smooth, very confident and straight, and I will show you how to overcome this mistake in this video. Another reason why this mistake is mostly common among beginners is that they don't have this, how will I say it, like muscle memory for their hands. So they tend to shade using their fingers, and which is not meant to be so. You have to shade from your wrist. Your movement must come from the wrist, not from your fingers. When you make your movements come from the finger, your lines won't be that straight, so it will result to giving that shaky effect. You won't have a smooth transition between your lines. So make sure when you are shading, let the movements come from your wrist. From your wrist, you'll be able to control how the pen works on your paper. And you make sure when you are practicing this movement, don't start it with a very hard pressure. Let your pressure be light. Practice with a very consistent wrist movement. That's where you avoid shaky lines as a beginner. Moving on to mistake number 2, which is rushing your shading technique. Now, one thing about pen artists generally as a professional, I will advise you, do not compare yourself with other medium of artists. I hope you understand what I'm trying to tell you. As a pen artist and as a beginner that you are trying to become a professional later on, do not attempt to rush your shading. You can never become a pro if you are always rushing your shading. As a pen artist, the best way to become a professional is to practice patience. See, pen work is one of the slowest medium I have known. It takes time to complete a pen work, not to compare it to pencil, paint, and other medium. You see, pen work, it takes a lot of patience. Imagine sitting down on your drawing desk and you are giving stroke one after the other. Who have that kind of patience? So if you want to become a pro in pen drawing, make sure you don't rush your shading technique. Do not rush your shading technique. From me to you as a beginner, do not rush your shading technique. You rush your shading technique, you want to compare yourself with pencil. Pencil is very easy for you to shade pencil and blend it. It's not the same as pen. It's very easy for you to paint a particular area and use your brush and easily finish up that area, but for pen, you have to take it one stroke at a time. You rushing your shading technique will never give you the best result you ever wanted. It will never. So make sure you don't rush your shading technique. Always take it one stroke at a time, no matter how long it's going to take you. That is why I advise beginner artists, when you are starting out, do not attempt big or large scale drawings. You will get frustrated at the end. Start with something little. You can get like an A5 sketch pad and just sketch something. It is a small sketch pad. It will give you that privilege to learn how to practice with patience. But if you go and start with a very big scale drawing as a beginner, I'm very sure you will not end up as an artist. You will give up by the way. You will give up along the way. So when you are making your shading technique, do not rush it. That is number 2 mistake. Do not rush your shading technique. Okay, before I move on to our mistake number 3 for beginner artists, I want you to do one thing. Please like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel if you want more tips like this and if you want to become a much more better artist later on in your art career. And moving on to our mistake number 3, and that is pressing too hard. I've come across a lot of pen drawing that looks like, oh my god, what is this? I'm sorry, sometimes I do laugh at their drawings, but I'm sorry, as a professional I'm not meant to do that. But if you look at this, sometimes I do wonder, are these people trying to build their career alone, or they have to bring themselves into an environment where they can learn faster and easier? That is what I do think sometimes. Why will you start a pen drawing? Though I know that most beginners don't have that knowledge, but why will you start a pen work and you start with a very hard pressure? Remember, you are not writing, you are drawing. There is difference between that. When you are, for example, a beginner, you want to start your shading, do not start with a very hard pressure. Start with a very light pressure to the extent that you hardly see your pen stroke. That's where you'll be able to build up your tone, you'll be able to build up your value, and you'll be able to transition your shades evenly without having to face any difficulty. That is why I told you in mistake number 2, if you don't have patience as a pen artist, I'm not sure you will go far in the art career. So make sure, do not press your pen too hard when you are trying to shade. Do not apply hard pressure. Applying hard pressure will make your work very bad. And let's take for example now, you're a beginner artist, you don't have, let's say you don't have the finance to get those expensive materials and equipment for pen work like watercolor paper, needlepoint paper, and the rest, Strathmore paper, Bristol, and the rest, and you are just trying to manage a normal sketch pad, let's say a printer sketch pad, and you made your sketch, and the next thing you want to shade, then you start with a very hard stroke. Don't forget, printer paper does not absorb the hardness of a pen. It's going to tear it, and you'll be wondering why your shading is looking awful or why your paper can't survive the process. It's because you are pressing too hard. So as a beginner artist, avoid this mistake. When you are learning to shade, avoid using hard pressure at first. Just build up the layer gently, softly. The more layer you have, the darker your tone become. Don't just go in dark like that. It will not make your work come out nice. And when you go in with a very hard pressure, it will be very difficult for you to blend and transition into another tone. So make sure you do not start with a very hard pressure. Start very lightly and build up your value and tone before you get to a very dark value. I hope you understand what I'm trying to tell you over here. And moving on to mistake number 4, and this is a very simple mistake that happens a lot. This one happens very well. I can confidently say 90% of beginners artists do this mistake. And what am I trying to talk about here? I'm trying to talk about outlining everything in your sketch. Now to make your shading, your drawing look professional, there's something that you have to do at the foundation of your sketch. Make sure that when sketching your outline, for example, now most of we pen artists will normally start our sketches with pencil, and now that is very okay. Now before you move on to shade, you will want to take your pen and make the proper sketch outline. One thing you should notice as a beginner, do not outline everything the same value. Your outline should not be the same value, and it should not be too dark. Having a very dark outline will not bring that realistic look in your shading. do not give you this 3D effect when you are done with your artwork. So for example, let me use a circle. You want to shade a circle now. You know that the bottom part of the circle tends to be darker and the upper part tends to be much lighter depending on where your light is hitting the object from. So the place the subject, the circle for example, where the darkness fall, that outline is going to be dark because overall that side is going to be dark. And where the light hits the object, the outline on that surface is going to be very, very light to match the shading tone you want to use for that specific area. So when you want to outline your sketches, do not start with a very dark outline unless you are making, let's say, animation sketch, or you are doing a cartoonist, you are a pen artist that does cartoon. That's a different case. But for a realistic shading, you make sure you don't outline your subject or your object too dark to give you that 3D look and a very realistic effect. Moving on to our number 5 mistake in today's tutorial. Note that we have lots of mistakes beginners already do, but I just want to cover these 5 in this tutorial. Then moving on to the next tutorial, I'll be able to at least cover the rest. But I just want to cover 5 for the benefit of the tutorial, not to make it too lengthy. So moving on to our 5 mistake, number 5 that beginners don't make, and that is value. This is the most common mistake among beginners. Value. See, one thing about pen, if you want to get used to pen works very well, I advise you to start as a pencil artist. That is the easiest method I can give to you. Start as a pencil artist. Learn to control the value of your pencil. And when I mean pencil, I don't mean different grades of pencil. Just one pencil, like let's say a 2B pencil. Try to use that pencil to get different values. Dark value, middle tone value, light tone value. Once you can do that with a pencil, then move on to pen and see how you can duplicate that same knowledge into pen work. Making your value in the right proportion and in the right time at the right let's say the right places in your sketch will give you this amazing shading at the very end, to the extent that if others see your art, it's either they tell you that it is an AI work or it is a printed picture. I know some of you have come across some pen artwork and you yourself, you doubt that it is a pen artwork. That is because these people, they've trained themselves to the extent that their sketches, their drawings can be compared to real life photographers. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to tell you, because they have understand the concept behind value. They have a deep understanding, a deep foundation of how value works when it comes to pen drawing. So if you want to become a professional artist, as a beginner that you are now, the most thing you must focus on right now is how to make your values in the right places. In the place where your shadings are light, make sure your values matches that shading aspect. Don't just give your whole shading just a single value, thereby making your artwork look very, very flat. No, you have to learn how to transition your values. That's why I told you, if you don't have patience naturally, you can never become a pen artist. I'm telling you facts. You cannot become a pen artist. You can try pencil, paint, other medium, but for pen, if you don't have the patience to sit down for hours and be taking one stroke at a time, you won't be able to become a pen artist. Taking a stroke at a time is even easier. What of pen artists that use pointillism as a shading technique? How long do you think they'll be able to finish a particular area with just dots? You see, it requires a lot of patience, and sometimes we do get tired in this shading technique. So if you want to achieve a very good value, when you get to the point that you are getting tired or something, just leave the artwork and you can take a break come back and continue later. So make sure that as a beginner, learn to master the value of your reference. Make sure the values of your shading matches that of the reference you are using. Don't just cover your old shading with just a single value. It won't pop out of the paper, it will just be flat. So make sure you learn about value, know the foundation of value deeply before you move on to learning how to shade and shading technique. Now, I will demonstrate this example so that you are going to see how it is. I have here a drawing with me, and I'll use this drawing to demonstrate it. Now, as I said earlier, mistake number one, avoid shaking lines. Look at this background now. Don't you like it? Very smooth. That is because I've learned how to use my wrist and my finger movement together. That's why it's giving me a very smooth line. You can hardly see the pen strokes, and that is the level you want to get to later on. Mistake number two is rushing your arching or rushing your shading technique. Imagine if I was rushing my shading technique, I won't have all this smooth blending throughout my drawing. I will patiently shade all through all this to get this kind of result. And number three, pressing to add. Now, imagine if I was pressing to add in this area over here now. Imagine how my drawing is going to look like. So when you are a beginner, always start very light. You can see this side is a very light pen strokes, and here a little bit darker. So always avoid pressing to add. And if I was pressing to add, it will be very hard for me to blend my different transitions together. It will be very hard. So you always try to start very lightly, don't press too hard on your paper. Number four is outlining everything, and this is what I was trying to tell you. You can see the outline over here is much more darker than the outline over here. You can see this place very light. See the outline on this singlet, very light. While the outline on the jeans over here, in this reference, you can see how dark they are. So always learn to give your outline the same value that you want to use for your shading technique. You can see over here is lighter, over here is darker, over here is much more darker. So all those, put that into consideration. And number five is value. Now see the value of the shirt, of the singlet, and the value of this jean. You can see they're a lot different. So always learn to shade your drawing according to the value you have in the reference. You can see this reflection light and everything. Those are values. Know how to put your values in the right place. Follow the reference to give you that same value. And I hope you understand what I'm trying to say in this video. So far as we've gone into this video, I would just like to make a little recap of what I've said earlier. So the first mistake I talked about was avoiding shaky lines. Second mistake I talked about is your shading technique. Do not rush your shading technique. And the third mistake I talked about was avoiding pressing too hard. The fourth mistake I talked about was outlining everything. And the fifth mistake, which is not the final one, I'll talk about others in the next video, which is value. Know your value. To my beginner artists out there watching this video right now, I hope this video has taught you some things you have to do to level up your pen drawing game. If this video is very helpful to you and you wish to see more in the future, I will implore you to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more updates like this. And do not forget to always stay tuned to Hezok Art University, as I'll be uploading useful technique and tips to help you become a better pen artist in the future. Without wasting much of our time, I will see you in the next video. Bye from here.